Good evening and welcome to round 6 of the 2019 Indian Motorcycle DTRA UK Flat Track Nationals. A month on from our 2-day visit to the Amman Valley in South Wales, we head to the northeast of England and to Middlesbrough's Media Prima Arena, the regular home of the Redcar Bears Speedway team within the South Tees Motorsports Park. With only 2 scoring opportunities remaining, the championship is very much on the line tonight. Each rider drops their lowest score in 2019, so Gerard Bailo need only secure victory here to secure the title with a round to spare. Other podium places may be enough for the Spaniard, depending on the results of his main rivals. Britain's Gary Birtwistle and Toby Hales are currently best placed once dropped rounds are factored in. Can Bailo seal the crown, returning to the track on which he won for the first time with the DTRA in 2018? Let's find out. The lead quartet in the current championship standings were the top 4 in qualifying earlier on this afternoon, so they won't meet in the opening 4 races of the day, determining the first of our qualifiers to the second round of races, the semi-final stages taking place later on here tonight. 6-lap races, these ones. We're lining up now for heat number 1. Ferran Sastre was the top qualifier earlier on, ahead of Toby Hales, Gerard Bailo and Gary Birtwistle, so that's a bit of an early pecking order as far as your championship contenders are concerned, certainly in terms of single lap pace. Sastre has used his starting position choice to line up of gate number 2. On the inside of him here will be Gareth Williamson. He was the top adult intermediate qualifier on the number 147. Gate 3, Michael Dijkstra, the Dutchman, winner last time out in the Amman Valley. Completing that front row will be Simon Parkin on the 139. The middle row of the grid, we've got Andrew Horner-Glister, who is set to complete that second row on the inside of it. Then James Smith off gate 2. Angus Goff, surprised to see him only lining up on the middle row in the opening round. He qualified all the way down in 17th position. On the outside of him, Gareth Howes, and Jez Scott with work to do, the only rider off the back row of the grid in the 9-rider opening round races. Heat number 1 gets underway. A flying start for Ferran Sastre, no less than we might have expected. Michael Dijkstra, as predicted, cutting straight through into second place. Now, the main story of this Heat 1 is how quickly can Angus Goff get through. He gets around the outside line on the number 147, Gareth Williamson. Unfortunately for Williamson, he's already dropped down to 5th position. Remember, only the top 3 march on in the opening 4 races of the day direct to the second round of races, so this battle for 3rd position is absolutely vital. Angus Goff looking to find a way through. Simon Parkin defending that position for now at least. This would be first blood to Simon Parkin as far as the adult intermediate class is concerned, getting the better of Gareth Williamson, who beat him in qualifying, and Parkin now separating himself out somewhat from Angus Goff and doing a great job here in 3rd position. Action up front settling down. Sastre's got it comfortably. The race still on for P3 as Goff chases the tail here of the number 139. Parkin still defending well. Goff still attacking into turn 3 and 4 at the banked oval here at the Media Prima Arena. Goff gets a good line on 3 and 4. Parkin just about holds on for now at least. Time ticking for Goff to make that move. Back into the bottom bend once again. Goff has got a smoother line coming off turn 2. Parkin makes a mistake and Goff is through and up into 3rd position. So that settles the top 3 in this race, you'd expect. The 3 riders that we would have anticipated moving through. Oh, curse of the commentator. Michael Dijkstra slowing up on turn number 2. Dijkstra dropping out of those qualification positions, and he's not going to make it to the checkered flag here. So it'll be Sastre who will march on alongside Goff, but Simon Parkin takes a somewhat fortuitous 3rd position. He moves through to the semi-final stages, and heat number 1 ends in tears for Michael Dijkstra. The Dutchman had well and truly consolidated 2nd position. The action was behind him for 3rd place. Angus Goff eventually promoted to 2nd position, and Michael Dijkstra having to get an almost sidecar passenger ride back to the pits from Ferran Sastre here, the winner of heat number 1. Sastre doing the job in pretty comfortable style, it must be said, but the surprises were behind him, with Michael Dijkstra failing to finish less than a lap from the checkered flag, just a couple of 100 metres in fact from direct progression through to round number 2, and that's certainly going to make the Dutchman's evening that much more difficult, because he'll be up against it now in terms of seeding position for the remainder of the night. Now moving straight on with heat number 2, this one featuring round 4 winner Toby Hales. Second qualifier has gone for gate 2 in this one. On the inside of him, lining up here, Jordan Miller. Fantastic performance in qualifying, up in P6 for the man who sits just 10th in the championship standings in 2019. Miller looking to make the pole line count. Gate 3 here, the lone pro rider off the front row is Conrad Little on the number 69. 10th qualifier overall, good performance. Sean Kelly completes the front row. Middle row of the grid, Tom Moore, the last rider to settle in. Alongside him, Brad Hardman, Stephen Gurnhill and Chris Jenner. And the back row completing our 9-rider field for the second race of the day is Richard Gardner. Favourites off the 2 inside starting positions on the front row. Who might join them in progression to the semi-finals? And are we in for more surprises like the retirement of Dijkstra first time out? Sean Kelly, sluggish away, snakes all the way down to the first turn. He's lost out on a top 4 position as things stand. Battle is for third. Conrad Little getting around the outside of Brad Hardman. They were almost 3 abreast coming off the second bend, but Jordan Miller got the power down well and consolidates second position. So for the moment, the race is on for 4th place. A recovering Sean Kelly, having tried the outside line on Brad Hardman, now cuts to the inside off turn number 2 and makes the move stick, but the front 3 have already scampered away. Could Sean Kelly become the second pro rider to miss out on a direct transfer spot to the semi-final stages after the retirement of Michael Dijkstra first time out? Kelly certainly not picking up ground coming off turn number 2 there, looking as though he's under some pressure still from Brad Hardman. Conrad Little pulling away, still on the back of Jordan Miller, closing up now for 6th position behind as the number 1, 3, 4 of Chris Jenner gets up the inside of the 217 of Stephen Gurnhill around turns 1 and 2. The minor placings not too significant in terms of progression, with only 3 riders, remember, moving through to the semi-final stages, but every place vital in terms of grid position and selection of grid position, particularly in the latter stages of this meeting. Sean Kelly then against Brad Hardman. That one well and truly settled, but the top 3 have gradually pulled away as this race has gone on. So the 3 riders who were the top qualifiers to heat number 2 are going to be the 3 riders to march on, as you would expect really, and the top 4 in the order that they qualified to this race. It's going to be Hales first over the line, then it's going to be Miller, then it's Little in 3rd position. Those are the 3 who march on. Kelly missing out, as does Brad Hardman, but that was a good effort from Brad Hardman in that one. Good ride, having only been the 7th seed in that second race and fighting his way through to challenge in the early stages for a place among the top 3. Conrad Little settling down 3rd position then, but it's Hales who wins it, ahead of Jordan Miller, 2.5 seconds back in 2nd place. Sean Kelly will be among the riders defending a position in tonight's competition when he lines up in heat number 6 alongside Brad Hardman, Chris Jenner, Stephen Gurnhill, Tom Moore and Richard Gardner. First appearance of the night for current series leader Gerard Bailo in the next one, heat number 3. Bailo has selected gate 3 for this one, leaving 2 slots on the inside of him. No fear as he heads confidently down into turn number 1, I'm sure. Lining up on the inside of him is Rob Meir. Fantastic breakthrough performance from him around this circuit in 2018. He'll certainly be looking to challenge Bailo down into the first turn. Leo Toklov lines up on the inside of that front row, taking pole, the 11th qualifier. Currently 8th in the championship standings with consistent performances in 2019. Joe Banks completes the front row of the grid, 4 pro riders lining up in those front 4 positions. Middle row, Danny Lonsdale will be the last rider to settle in, going off the inside, alongside Trevor Heath, George Sturgis and Steve Wilkinson. That completes our lineup for this one, with 2 riders short of a full 36 rider entry, 2 rows of the grid therefore being utilised with an 8 rider heat number 3. Getting underway under the flags here in the Media Prima Arena, and it's Rob Meir who has made an electric start. Leo Toklov briefly ahead of Gerard Bailo as they headed down to the first 2 turns. Now settling in for 3rd position, Toklov. Great start from George Sturgis. Joe Banks really went backwards on the opening 2 turns, battling back around the outside line. Danny Lonsdale's come through as well, so Lonsdale into 5th. Banks goes deep on the outside line around turns 1 and 2 briefly, slipping down to 7th place. Has momentum down the back straight to recover P6, but there's a fight still going on for 7th, with Heath trying to get around the outside of Wilkinson. Race action close at the front of the field as well. Rob Meir ahead of Gerard Bailo, but the margin ever decreasing between the 2 of them. Both would be set to move through onto the front row of the grid for the semi-final stages. But Bilo hoping to start as he means to go on, as he attacks on the inside line of Rob Meir. Joe Banks defending against Trevor Heath, who's gone in a little bit too deep there on the bottom bend, and Danny Lonsdale getting out of shape. That's another position gain for Joe Banks. Meanwhile, talking about positions gained, Bilo's going to have a go on the inside here of Rob Meir. Moves him out of the way around turns 1 and 2. Bilo hits the front. The Spaniard is certainly coming out fighting tonight. Goes toe-to-toe with the fast-starting Rob Meir and hits the front. 1 lap remaining for Bilo, but immediately he's gapped Rob Meir in second position. Meir now an isolated P2 because Leo Toklov is well adrift, but Toklov will march on to the semi-final stages with some comfort ahead of George Sturgis, who is best of the rest in 4th position. Bilo takes it then, Meir over the line 2nd, a bit of a wait for Leo Toklov to come over the line in 3rd. And she's got some speed to find before the semi-final stages if she wants to make it to tonight's grand final. Disappointment also for Joe Banks in that one, having to battle back from, as I said, at one stage, sitting all the way down in 7th position. And he does make a bit of ground, a couple of places, but can't get on terms with George Sturgis, who takes 4th, and certainly well adrift from the qualification positions to the tune of 4.5 seconds, Joe Banks away from the all-important top 3. Bilo wins it, only a second in it over the line. Leo Toklov a couple of seconds further adrift. George Sturgis best of the rest, but he'll have to go again in heat number 6, along with Banks, Heath, Lonsdale and Wilkinson. We turn our attentions to heat number 4, which will complete a single ride for each of our competitors here tonight. Gary Birtwistle starting as the favourite for this one, goes off gate number 3, the round 1 winner. Across the line then, off gate number 1, Stephen Campbell, he had 4th pick for this race. Gate 2, Sam Hurst, the 8th qualifier overall. Gate 3, Gary Birtwistle, 4th in qualifying. And the outside of that front row, first appearance with the pros for Jamie Robertson. Middle row of the grid featuring 3 riders only. James O'Hara didn't finish Q2 and he's not made it out onto track for his first heat race either. So it's a 7-rider lineup for the 4th race of the day. Gary Birtwistle getting underway strongly. Sam Hurst struggling, and down goes Gary Inman. So a ragged start to race number 4. The action continuing under yellow flags. They come into the top bend and Gary Birtwistle is going to have to make an overtake here if he wants to hit the front. The focus is on the battle for 3rd position because at the moment it's Stephen Campbell holding on against Sam Hurst, and this would be for the last of the automatic transfer spots to the semi-final stages. Hurst would have been expecting to make it through, particularly after one of his best qualifying performances to date, but only in 4th position. He's got work to do and he's starting to get out of shape in desperation to make it through. Close up front as Jamie Robertson defends against Gary Birtwistle. Birtwistle goes for the outside line into turn number 3. Can't quite get there. Sam Hurst is closing down Campbell, creeping round the curb on 3 and 4, but Campbell putting in a really strong ride here. Birtwistle having finally got ahead for the race lead, but both of those riders will be on the front row of the grid for the semi-final stages as things stand. This the weakest side of the draw in principle, and Sam Hurst will not be pleased at all to find himself outside of the automatic transfer spots as things stand. He would go again, of course, in the elimination races, heats 5 and 6, but Campbell is now stretching his advantage down the back straight, and this is an impressive ride from the number 99, who will book his place in the next stage if he keeps it on the island into the final lap of this Media Prima arena. Gary Birtwistle streaking clear once he hit the front, but an excellent performance from Jamie Robertson, rubbing shoulders with the elite in the pro category, put in a great performance in the intermediate class last time out in the Amman Valley, and he's qualified as one of the performers here tonight. Robertson then over the line in 2nd position. That should also be enough to see him through to the final in the intermediate category, but his primary focus, of course, will be on recording national points once we get to those semi-final stages. Birtwistle the winner, as you would have expected from heat number 4, but having to do it the hard way. Ragged start to that race, chaotic stuff early on, with Sam Hurst not getting away and the rest of the pack bunching up behind him. Gary Inman going down. Inman will have another chance, of course, in heat number 5 alongside pro riders Hurst, Hill and Brown. The first of our round 1 elimination races, heat number 5. Riders in this one bidding for a place alongside the 12 confirmed semi-finalists. Only the top 6 from this one, heat number 5, and from the next one out, heat 6, can march on. The bottom half of the field will be eliminated and take no further part in tonight's proceedings. main story of these next two races. Michael Dijkstra, following his retirement in heat number 1, has to go off the back row of the grid in this one, heat 5, and on his second choice of machine as well, to try and challenge for one of those qualification positions. Every position in these races vital, not only in terms of making it through, but also, of course, for seeding position and choice of grid positions for those semi-finals. The top 2 from this one will line up on the middle row of the grid. The next 4 will have to go from the back row, and that's a tough task against the strongest competitors in Redcar tonight. Dijkstra then on the back row of the grid alongside Trevor Heath and Jez Scott. Front row, Andrew Horner-Glister, Gareth Williamson, Joe Banks and George Sturgis. Riders watching for the green flag here tonight. Getting underway. Sturgis has made a good one. Good start as well from Gareth Williamson off gate number 2. Williamson, though, goes wide. Horner-Glister gets through on the inside line, creeping off at turn number 2. Side by side now into the top bend. Horner-Glister is muscled aside by Williamson, who comes through for second place. And look at Michael Dijkstra, already up through the field and inside those qualification positions. He's up to 6th. He's running wide around the outside line now and challenging Trevor Heath for P5. Sturgis has broken away. The top 2, in fact, have broken away. And Dijkstra, if he wants to get onto the middle row of the grid for the semi-final stages, has got his work cut out here. 3 abreast as they head back into turn number 1. Heath on the inside line. Dijkstra the wide outside. He's cut through for 4th position on Heath. Now challenging Banks for 3rd place. Dijkstra certainly faster. Banks hangs him up to dry around the banking on turns 3 and 4. And Dijkstra can't get through this time around. Will he switch his attack now to the inside on 1 and 2? He certainly will. Gets his wheels in line coming off the second bend, but Banks is riding good pace here. Dijkstra slides down the inside of him into turn number 3. He's got to be careful not to lose his front wheel against the back wheel of Joe Banks, but he manages to force his way through into 3rd position. Banks is concerned with qualification, knows that 4th place will be enough. Dijkstra, meanwhile, is going after the top 2, knows that that will be good enough for a place on the middle row of the grid. This is the battle for 6th position, the last of those qualification slots. The number 1, 2, 8 holding it for the moment at least. Gareth Howells is set to miss out, but he's chasing for all he's worth for a place in the semi-finals. Dijkstra gets around the outside. Brilliant move from Michael Dijkstra to come through for 2nd position. Could he even get the race lead on George Sturgis? Sturgis holds him off to the line, but Dijkstra's done enough to earn a middle row grid slot for the semi-finals. Brilliant ride that from Michael Dijkstra, having to work very, very hard indeed from the back row of the grid. Full credit to George Sturgis, his first race victory of this 2019 campaign in the National Series, and he'll be hoping that that starts a challenge for a place in tonight's grand final. He's certainly through to the semi-final stages. George Sturgis, along with Michael Dijkstra, Gareth Williamson, Joe Banks, Trevor Heath and Steve Wilkinson, who does indeed hold on in the end ahead of Gareth Howells, eliminated with Andrew Horner-Glister, Danny Lonsdale, James Smith and Jez Scott. Heat number 6, and this one threatens another of our big-name pro regulars with potential elimination here. Sam Hurst has had a tough 2019 campaign, sits 13th down in the standings, and is looking to recapture the form that saw him into 7th position at the season opener in Kings Lynn. Hurst has the pole line here for this one, the 6th race of the day, looking for a top 2 finish to line up off the middle row of the grid come the semi-final stages. He's not the only pro regular lining up in this one. Mike Hill completes the front row of the grid off the outside, and Sean Kelly lines up directly alongside him. Here's the lineup in full then for heat number 6. Hurst, Kelly, Hardman and Hill on row 1. The middle row of the grid, Inman, Gurnhill, Jenner and Brown. And off the back row of the grid, Richard Gardner and Tom Moore. So Anthony Brown, making a first appearance of the 2019 campaign, goes on the outside of that middle row. The pursuit for a place in the top 6 well and truly underway with heat number 6 here. Hurst it is who gets the whole shot. Mid-pack battle once again for 6th place. Brown going the long way round has done a good job coming around turns 1 and 2. He's up into 5th place, soaring hard around the outside once again into turn 3. The risk here is that he'll get moved aside by Chris Jenner, which is indeed exactly what happens. Brown is now in focus point because he's occupying the last of the automatic transfer spots, and Gary Inman is trying to prize it away from him. 6th position for Brown, 7th position for Inman. Brown is under pressure here as they come off the pits turn. Inman has found his way through, and this would be disaster for Anthony Brown. His night would end after just 2 races as he slips out of those top 6 positions. Close fight for the top 2 as well. with those riders knowing that they're set to go through to the middle row of the grid for the semi-final stages, make their task that little bit easier as they pursue a top 5 position to move through to the grand final. But still the battle is all about this man, Anthony Brown, trying to recover against Gary Inman for the last of the transfer spots to the semis. Brown is set to miss out altogether. He'll fail to score here tonight, and Inman is starting to pull clear of him. Back to the battle at the front. Sean Kelly trying to prise a way through on the inside line against Sam Hurst. Slipping backwards now, the man in 4th position as we go into the latter stages of this race. Mike Hill trying to find his way through on Kelly, who himself now has been passed by Chris Jenner. We've got a 4-rider fight at the front of the field. A bit of a gap emerging. Some daylight behind Mike Hill now to 5th position. But it looks as though we know our top 6 will be moving through as Inman holds on against Anthony Brown in the latter stages. Great ride that one from Chris Jenner to get 2nd place off Sean Kelly. Kelly will march on as well. Great race victory and a confidence booster, no doubt, as well for Sam Hurst, who started this afternoon well with a good result in qualifying and has now taken a race victory in heat number 6. Chris Jenner battling through the field quite nicely, started off the middle row of the grid and ends up in 2nd position, so he'll be hoping for more good things to come as the night goes on, as he will line up off the middle row of the grid for the semi-final stages. Sean Kelly, Mike Hill, Stephen Gernhill and Gary Inman, after a crucial pass on Anthony Brown, make the cut. Brown, Hardman, Moore and Gardner will all miss out from that one, heat number 6. Semi-final time, the first of 2 8-lap races to determine the first 10 of our qualifiers through to tonight's grand final. Straightforward knockout at this stage of the competition. The top 5 in each semi-final will go direct to tonight's grand final. The next 6 riders will go through to a last chance repechage, the LCQ, and the rider who finishes at the back in each of the semis won't get a second shot. They will be out of tonight's proceedings. First starting position choice went to Gerard Bilo, the Heat 3 winner. He's gone for gate number 2. Second choice to Ferran Sastre, the fastest qualifier and Heat 1 winner, goes off the inside. Then Rob Meir off gate 3, the runner-up in Heat number 3, and Angus Goff completing the front row. 2 riders off the middle row of the grid who came from the opening 4 race of the day. Leah Toklov, who was 3rd in Heat 3. She's gone for gate number 6, so the second of the starting positions off the middle row. She'll line up alongside Simon Parkin, who was 3rd place in Heat number 1. And then the first of the riders to have come through the elimination phase, Simon Parkin, who will be going off the second from the outside starting position off the middle row, and Michael Dykstra, who battled his way through to 2nd place in that eliminator heat number 5. He completes the middle row of the grid. Back row, we've got Steve Wilkinson, Joe Banks, Trevor Heath and Gareth Williamson, although at the moment it looks as though Steve Wilkinson is having problems getting that machine started. He's on the infield, as you can see. The other 11 riders all into position and ready to go for semi-final number 1, and the order's been given to the starting marshal. Will go without him. So disaster for Steve Wilkinson, who'll find himself eliminated through little fault of his own, really. His bike has given up the ghost and everyone is now safe. But who will be the 5 riders who march on to tonight's grand final? Meir with a fast start. Bilo drops back down to 3rd. Meir, though, runs wide coming off turn 2. Sastre through to lead. Meir egging his bike forward as they go into turn number 3, but Sastra's gone wide and that blocks Meir, enables Bilo to come through and hit the front. They're practically 3 abreast as we head back into turn number 1. Meir on the inside, then Bilo, then Sastre. Meir locking up though as he went into turn 1, and Bilo edges clear. So Gerard Bilo it is who leads. Ferran Sastre in 2nd position. Those would be the 2 riders to appear on the front row of the grid for the grand final from this one at semi-final number 1. Meir was up with them in the early stages but is now starting to drop back. It'll be a 2nd row grid slot for him and Angus Goff if things stay as they are. The top 4 in this race were the top 4 in that seeding order heading into semi-final number 1, so no massive surprises so far. But Michael Dykstra is trying to make an impression now. He's up into 5th position, having been just the 8th seed for this race, remember, following his DNF in heat number 1. Well, he's up there and challenging now for P4. This is worth an extra row on the grid for Michael Dykstra, and he carves his way past Angus Goff. Moves the number 41 out of the way coming off turn number 4. Still a good race going on for top spot, where Gerard Bilo hasn't really been able to clear Ferran Sastre to too great an extent, and Sastre is staying right with him. 8 laps, slightly longer race length at this stage of the competition, so there's still time for Sastre to find a way through, but the laps are now counting away. Dijkstra, meanwhile, is challenging on the tail of Rob Meer. This would further improve his seeding position and gate draw for the semi-final stages. Dijkstra on the tail of Meer. Meer has it for the moment at least, and Rob Meer looking set to hold on the inside line from Michael Dijkstra. Dijkstra almost going up the back of Meer around turns 1 and 2, and that settles in. It's going to be Bijlo ahead of Sastre, ahead of Meer, and ahead of Dijkstra, with Angus Goff occupying the last of those qualification positions. Sastre to the inside line coming off turn 2. Bijlo, though, has the run, and that's been the trend throughout this race. This pair very evenly matched, but Bijlo did the job negotiating Meer in the early stages and was a little bit fortuitous with Sastre running offline at the end of the opening lap, while Bijlo's managed to take advantage of it and cuts through for a valuable race win. So Bijlo will either be first or second seed through to the grand final, depending on the race time of semi-final number 2. But he's done his bit in the first of 2 semi-finals to win ahead of his fellow countryman Ferran Sastre, who takes second. Third going the way of Rob Meer. Michael Dijkstra and Angus Goff also marching on. Dijkstra doing well to get through up into the top 5 in the early stages, and that relegates Leah Toklov outside of the qualification positions. Joe Banks will also go again in the last chance qualifier. Steve Wilkinson, the only rider eliminated from semi-final number 1. So our 3 international riders have made it safely through, and now it's time for the Brits to take centre stage in the second semi-final. Toby Hales, the Heat 2 winner, had first pick for this one, and he's gone for the pole. So slotting in alongside him will be the winner of heat number 4, Gary Birtwistle, completing the front row of the grid. Jordan Miller and Jamie Robertson, who were runners-up in heats 2 and 4. Impressive stuff from Robertson to get onto the front row of the grid for his first appearance at the semi-final stage. Middle row of the grid, 2 riders who finished third in their opening outings. Conrad Little in heat 2 and Stephen Campbell in heat 4, joined by the top 2 from heat 6, Sam Hurst and Chris Jenner. From the back row of the grid, 9th seed Sean Kelly. He's gone for gate number 3. Mike Hill slots in on the outside of him, and Gary Inman on the inside of him. We're missing Stephen Gernhill. He looks set to be a non-starter. Once again, we're down to 11 riders only, this time for semi-final number 2. Plenty of tension as we prepare to get underway with this one. Green flag, and it's a fantastic start from Jamie Robertson off the outside. Toby Hales gets there first. Robertson going the long way round. Disaster for Jordan Miller, who's thrust aside 2 or 3 times on the first 2 turns and tumbles backwards down the order. At the moment, Conrad Little would occupy the last of those qualification positions. He sits in 5th position behind Sam Hurst. Stephen Campbell duelling with Sean Kelly. Miller cuts back to the inside line. He's got a lot of work to do here, 4 or even 5 positions to make up for the number 19, who started on the front row of the grid and is out of the top 8 positions, let alone the top 5 that he needs to qualify through. Kelly back on the outside line of Stephen Campbell once again. Campbell running him deep. Birtwistle fended off the challenge of Jamie Robertson in the early stages. Into turn 3, Robertson went for a bold move, and Birtwistle simply turned it back up the inside off the pit's bend for the first time, through for second place. That should be enough to see him onto the front row of the grid for tonight's grand final. This is a race for a place on the second row of the grid for 4th position, defended robustly by Sam Hurst at the moment, and Conrad Little, who's also inside the qualification positions, knows he's got plenty of buffer behind him to Stephen Campbell, and is going off in pursuit of Sam Hurst, but Hurst is certainly holding back Little at this stage of the race, and with Jordan Miller trying to come through the field, there could be a risk for both of these riders here. Once again, wide there, Conrad Little, this time wider than he'd been before, and now Campbell and Miller are both within touching distance of a place in tonight's grand final. Miller has come through very nicely indeed. He dispatched Sean Kelly in straightforward fashion. Now he's going after the number 99. This would be for a place in the top 6. He'd have only one more overtaking manoeuvre to manage. Miller muscles aside the number 99 into turn number 1. Campbell is completely unsettled, and Kelly's going to pass 2 in 2 turns here. Kelly had already made up 1 position on Chris Jenner. He gets Stephen Campbell in for the bargain, as well as the number 99 struggles. Race now is over 5th position, the last of the transfer spots. Miller versus Little. Little on the outside line. Miller gets turn 2 squared off beautifully, and through comes Jordan Miller to ease the suffering of the early stages of this race with a crucial last lap overtaking manoeuvre, and Little slips back. He'll have to go again in the last chance qualifier. What an outstanding ride in the end from Jordan Miller, who looked dead and buried on the opening lap. He was muscled aside, bullied on lap number 1, really, as he was pushed outside of the top 8 places, but fights back in the end to gain a place inside the top 5, and through he goes to tonight's grand final. Excellent ride from Jamie Robertson to earn a place on the second row of the grid for tonight's final, behind Toby Hales and Gary Birtwistle in that one, semi-final number 2. But the focus was on the battle for 4th and 5th positions, with Hurst getting the better of Jordan Miller and Conrad Little missing out. The penultimate race of the day here at the Media Prima Arena will award the first of the championship points and dish out the last 2 transfer spots to tonight's grand final. This one over 6 laps. Look at the lineup then. Conrad Little, first seed. He's gone for gate number 3, finished 6th place in the second semi-final. The other rider to have finished 6th in the other semi-final was in the slower semi-final, Leah Toklove. So she was 2nd seed. She's gone for gate 2. Joe Banks lines up off the inside and Sean Kelly off the outside. So it's Banks, Toklove, Little and Kelly on the front row. They will be the favourites for progression, with only 2 riders moving through. Middle row of the grid, 5th seed was due to be Stephen Campbell, but according to the information I have, he's been declared unfit following his big old high side into turn number 1 in the intermediate final. So Campbell, although he's lined up on track here, isn't set to participate in this one. He's settled in off gate number 6. On the inside of him here, Gareth Williamson. He was only 8th seed, but the last rider to pick on the middle row has lucked in somewhat with the inside line. Looks as though information has now been given, and one of the marshals is on his way to Stephen Campbell to advise him that he's not allowed to ride in this one. On the outside of Campbell's soon-to-be vacant slot, Simon Parkin going off at gate number 3, and the number 134 Chris Jenner completing that middle row. Back row of the grid featuring George Sturgis, Trevor Heath and Mike Hill. Stephen Campbell here having words with the paramedic, but it's not going to make too much difference, I don't think, and Campbell is going to miss out here. He dismounts his machine, and he's been advised that he's got to leave the grid. So Stephen Campbell is the first casualty, quite literally, of this last chance qualifier. Also notice we're missing Gary Inman up at the line, so we're down to 10 riders only for the LCQ. Still, only 1/5 of this field is going to move through to tonight's grand final, so it's as cut and thrust as ever in the last chance qualifier. Conrad Little starting as the pre-race favourite off gate number 3. Watch out as well for Leah Toklove off gate 2. On paper, those are the 2 riders you'd expect to make it through. Simon Parkin's machine smoking as we get underway. Little completely misses the start, and in no time it's elbows out as he slips down into 3rd position. Joe Banks has made a good getaway. It's Leah Toklove up into 2nd place, so it's up to Conrad Little now to try and thread his way through. He in turn is under pressure from the number 147 Gareth Williamson, who at the moment sits in 4th position, and Sean Kelly tracking the pair of them up in P5. Kelly presented with an opportunity as Williamson gets it wrong slightly coming off turn 2, and Kelly prizes his way through down the inside into turn 3. Meanwhile, up at the front, Joe Banks starting to look vulnerable to attack from Leah Toklove. Toklove bundles her way through down the inside around turns 1 and 2. Will that leave room for Conrad Little? Banks needs to settle it straight back down to the curb here, because Little is curb crawling, looking for a way through coming off the pits turn. They're side by side for 2nd. Banks has got just enough to head back through into 2nd place heading into turn 1. Little locks it up. Banks going the long way round. Great racing here for the last of the transfer spots to the grand final, and Conrad Little in the end knows too much. Banks getting away well, gets back to the inside on 3 and 4, but it's too late, and Conrad Little was presented with an opportunity there with Banks leaving the inside line open, and Little took advantage of it, and the top 2 breaking clear now. Joe Banks in 3rd position. This is the fight further down the order. Gareth Williamson in line to score the last of the championship points to be awarded here. Banks for finishing 3rd will get 3. Then there'll be Kelly with 2. Williamson is defending 5th place that's worth a single championship point, and he's got a bit of a train behind him with Mike Hill and Chris Jenner battling over position. But up at the front, it's Leah Toklove who takes her first race victory of the day ahead of Conrad Little in 2nd. Battling performance from both of them, because it was Joe Banks who popped out of the start in front of them. But Banks will have to content himself with 3 championship points, having been relegated down to 3rd position there. Kelly scores 2, and Williamson, as I said, scoring the single point, with the rest of the riders in that lineup failing to score championship points. Here's confirmation of that result then. Leah Toklov marches on along with Conrad Little. Both of them have an opportunity to get bigger points hauls from tonight's meeting. Joe Banks, Sean Kelly and Gareth Williamson with the consolation points. Mike Hill, the first of the pro riders to miss out on points here tonight, with Chris Jenner, Trevor Heath, George Sturgis and Simon Parkin also eliminated. The climax of the night here in Redcar and potentially of the 2019 championship as well. The top four in the championship have all qualified onto the front row of the grid for this one, but the most that any of Gerard Bailow's rivals can hope to end this season on is 101 points, and Bailo already sits on 82. It's straightforward maths then. A victory here for 20 championship points would move him beyond the reach of any of his rivals. Second place would be enough if it's Ferran Sastre or any of the other contenders from the back rows of the grid who were to get the better of Bailo, and then from there on in, from third position down, the mathematics become a lot more convoluted for Bailo to try and win this title. Easiest thing for him to do, rocket away and take the checkered flag, and you wouldn't bet against it. He's already twice been a winner here tonight, the winner of heat number 3 and of semi-final 1. Toby Hales, the only other unbeaten rider coming into this one, the winner of Heat 2 and semi-final 2, the fastest of the two semi-finals. He therefore had seeding choice, and he's gone for the inside gate. So the front row, Hales, Bailo. Gate 3, Gary Birtwistle, the winner of Heat 4. He was runner-up to Toby Hales in semi-final number 2. And Ferran Sastre completes that front row. The Heat 1 winner was second in semi-final 1. From the middle row, we've got Sam Hurst, the Heat 6 winner. Michael Dykstra, who's battled back superbly from a first ride DNF. Rob Meir, the fast starter. Can he do anything with that speed from the middle row, though? And Jamie Robertson, excellent performance to qualify as 5th seed. Jordan Miller, Leah Toklov, Angus Goff and Conrad Little complete the lineup for the grand final over 15 laps here in Redcar. Championship on the line. Watch for Bailo off gate number 2. We are underway. Hales has missed it slightly, and it's Bailo on the inside line first to emerge. Birtwistle goes all the way around the outside of him, though, coming off turn number 2. Side by side down the back straight. Birtwistle needs this victory to keep the championship alive, but it's Bailo who emerges in front at the end of the opening lap. Side by side now for second. Birtwistle needs to cut in across the front of Ferran Sastre. He's done so. Sastra's front wheel almost touching Birtwistle's left leg as they came around turns 1 and 2. Birtwistle now on the outside line on 3 and 4, and Sastre comes through for second place. Birtwistle overlocking coming off that pit's bend. Track perhaps freshly watered, that's caught him out. Hales getting up the inside, coming off turn number 2 now for third position, and just in a couple of turns, Gary Birtwistle has gone from second to fourth, and having got the whole shot, Birtwistle has dropped backwards, and the top 3 pulling away from him now. Rob Meir sticking with the lead quartet, but it's going to be tough for him to challenge for a place on the podium, even with plenty of laps still to go in this grand final. Sastre getting up the inside of Bailo, and through he comes. Ferran Sastre hits the front, Bailo relegated to second position. This would still be good enough as things stand for Gerard Bailo. In terms of the net scoring, Sastre is just 4th once the drop round is taken into consideration. He's yet to win a round in 2019. He's yet to win a round with the DTRA, but this could be the first for Ferran Sastre. A year on from Gerard Bailo's first victory with the DTRA, it's Ferran Sastre who leads the number 17, who sits in second place. This would still be good enough for him to take the title. Then it's Hales, Birtwistle, Meir, 6th position with Dykstra. Battle for 7th. Hurst holds it. Goff wants it. Angus Goff diving down the inside into turn number 1. Hurst repays the compliment nicely on the inside line coming off turn 2. Still side by side as they head into the pit's turn. Goff on the outside. Hurst tries to move him up, goes mid-track, and Leah Toklov passes the pair. Brilliant opportunistic move from Leah Toklov to get up into 7th place. This, as things stand, would be her best result of the season so far. So now the fight between Goff and Hurst is over just 8th position. Goff very, very deep on the top end. Jordan Miller passes Sam Hurst. Not quite a repeat of Leah Toklov's move from a lap before, but Angus Goff, riding the outside line, wants the cushion. It's not working in this grand final, and he gets out of shape down the back straight, and that enables Jordan Miller to come through. Goff has now decided to get back to the curb. His left foot was on the grass there as they came off the pit's bend, but he couldn't quite make anything stick. Leah Toklov, meanwhile, surging forward, is now on the tail of round 5 winner Michael Dykstra, and Dykstra holding 6th position is having to defend it now against Leah Toklov, who's coming on strong as this race goes on. Top 5 in a battle of their own, but those positions have very much settled down out in front. Sastra pulling away. Bailo knows that second place will be good enough. The Brits behind him can't do anything to get on terms, and the closest fight as things stand is this one for 6th position. Dijkstra holding off Toklov, and Toklov has got no answer for the moment at least. Loses a bit of ground there coming off turn number 2, sends it in deep on turn number 3, loses her footing as she comes into the top bend. Leah Toklov can't quite get there. Back up at the front, Ferran Sastra about to get into lap traffic. It doesn't pose him too significant a risk, while Gerard Bailo is well adrift, and Bailo is in no danger from Toby Hales in 3rd place. Things have settled down in the podium places. Just over a lap to go for Ferran Sastra. He's cleared Robertson, who was looking over his shoulder. No great difficulty there. Next to try and clear is Conrad Little, who's chasing down Sam Hurst for 10th position, but I don't think he'll necessarily get there before the checkered flag anyway. Down the back straight comes Sastra. He will meet Little around the final 2 turns. Little, will he move out of the way? He won't do, but it doesn't matter. Sastra wins here in Redcar, and Gerard Bailo is the 2019 UK Flat Track National Champion. Celebrations for both Spaniards. Sastra with his first win since joining the DTRA. He's had 2 runner-up rankings, he's had 3 podiums, but finally a first victory here in Redcar. As I said, a year on from Gerard Bailo's first success around this track, and it's Ferran Sastra who certainly takes some of the lustre away from Gerard Bailo's title success, but I'm sure that the number 17 won't mind about that. He'll go to bed happy tonight, and he'll go to bed as the UK Flat Track Champion. Ferran Sastra wins it, 20 points in the bag. That'll move him on to an adjusted score of 77 and 88 in total, of course, with a drop round still to be applied at the end of this campaign. It's going to be a great race at Greenfield at the end of this season in September to determine the remaining positions on the championship podium. But no doubt about it, Gerard Bailo doing enough here tonight to confirm that he is champion in 2019. Bailo went straight back to the pits to have it confirmed for him that he would be the champion this season, while Ferran Sastra takes his opportunity to enjoy the celebrations here at the Media Prima Arena. What a performance from Ferran Sastra, and what a winner, well deserved as well. Our 5th different round winner in 2019. Gary Birtwistle won round number 1 at Kings Lynn. Gerard Bailo the winner at Peterborough and Greenfield TT. Then Toby Hales and Michael Dijkstra sharing the honours over 2 days in the Amman Valley. And once again proving the depth of the UK Nationals, Ferran Sastra winner number 5 for this 2019 season. So podium consistency throughout the campaign has seen Gerard Bailo to the title with a round to spare. But the series takes another twist as we look forward to our visit to the Greenfield Oval in September, with 2 remaining places on the championship podium very much up for grabs. 20 points for Ferran Sastra move him back into second ahead of Gary Birtwistle, who failed to make the top 3 here today. But the dropped round regulation favours Toby Hales and Michael Dijkstra, who remain in mathematical contention for 2nd and 3rd positions as well. Looking at the standings, 10 points now separate Sastra in 2nd and Hales in 4th, but with each rider's lowest score removed, the net standings are that much tighter. Sastra on 77, Hales on 74 and Birtwistle on 73. So Spaniard Sastra celebrates his success here in Redcar tonight, but there's a long way still to go in the fight for silver behind confirmed 2019 UK Flat Track champion Gerard Bailo.